Welcome back to the program. We said we're going to go on the health tangent. Well, that's Ayo that said that, not me. But we're talking health and a very important aspect of it because it deals from, from the babies up to a certain point in age, especially for girls, I believe. Nigeria rolled out the major integrated vaccination campaign. That's Measles-Rubella vaccination. Introduced the new combined measles-rubella vaccine, replacing the old measles-only vaccine, targeting over 100 million children aged 9 months to 14 years to combat this deadly disease and prevent congenital disabilities from rubella. This large-scale effort combines MR vaccination. Now, I have to look at this so that I get all the information right. Prevent congenital disabilities from rubella. The large-scale effort combines MR vaccination with polio, HPV shots launched by the First Lady in October 2025 with phased rollouts across, northern Nigeria. This will commence in southern states this January if it hasn't started already. Lagos State Primary Healthcare Board is set to introduce the measles-rubella vaccine into its routine immunization program January 27th, right, to 2026. Aims to protect children against measles and rubella, strengthening their immunity and all that. And we have to talk about that in the House this morning. Dr. Adetola Akinpelu, Immunization Program Coordinator for Lagos State. Thank you so much for coming on to talk about this.
Good morning, and thank you.
Yes, and we also have Dr. Folashade Fadari, Member, Association of Public Health Physicians of Nigeria, again, Lagos State Chapter. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you. Good morning.
Right. So, many years ago, many, over 40 years ago, I had this rubella vaccination, I think when I was in my first year of secondary school in the United Kingdom. And then, in Nigeria, I hear about rubella again. And I'm thinking as I got older that, it must be a very important vaccination, So why is it so important, this particular vaccination? Let me start with you.
Okay, thank you very much. As you know, the campaign is about measles and rubella.
Yeah.
Measles infection, many of us, we know that it's a deadly, highly contagious infection amongst children.
Yeah.
And by the time you will even detect that a child has measles, almost everybody in that area has been exposed.
Yeah.
It starts with high fever, cough, catarrh, which you don't think it is any problem. So by the time you see rashes, you say, don't come to school again. Whereas all the cohorts had been exposed. That is measles. And we have been having measles vaccine for over 20, 30 years since we started the expanded program on immunization. So it has been on routine immunization. That is, every child by 9 months, they have measles vaccination. And everybody knows that once you have that measles vaccination, you are protected from measles infection, which is a viral infection that is very deadly and can cause a lot of disability, like deafness, blindness. Now, what is rubella? Rubella is a viral infection too. However, it's a mild one. It causes mild rash, mild fever, and it doesn't have that high potential of making people think it is something. But for a woman that is just pregnant, which is common that, okay, this woman have a 2 or 3 year old and is now pregnant for the next one. If that woman in the first trimester come in contact with a child that have rubella infection, the unborn child has a risk of having what we call congenital rubella syndrome.
Wow.
And that's how does congenital rubella syndrome present? You just see she had a child and there is a hole in the heart. How come hole? She has a child and the child cannot see, born blind. She has a child that is deaf, which most people, they will say, he can hear, he cannot hear. Many people don't know that the child has been born congenitally deaf from rubella that the mother came in contact with when she was pregnant. And how does a pregnant, she may not even know. You know, in the early stage of pregnancy, women will have fever, they have weakness, they don't want to eat. And so when she even have this rubella infection, she thinks it's malaria. And people around you be saying it's a malaria. You know, you call it anything, but you do not know this woman unknowingly have come in contact with rubella infection. So we are now adding rubella vaccine to the measles vaccine that we are already aware of, that we've been taking for years. So now we will now be having measles rubella vaccine going forward. But before we start having this under our routine immunization, the country have decided to have a campaign. They already had that of the north. So now we are coming to the south with Lagos.
I was going to ask if they were similar, and I think you have in a way, answered that the measles and rubella, they have some kind of co-relationship. Well, Dr. Akinpelu, the interesting thing here is, I mean, it's scary enough what she said about the pregnant woman.
Certainly.
You know, the child just coming in contact without sin, just becoming blind, becoming deaf, having a hole in the heart and all of those things. Is there even a way to prevent that for the pregnant woman in particular?
For rubella infection,
Yes.
one of the things that vaccines do, and that's where we're coming into the, that's where the conversation is going into, vaccination. For the pregnant woman, the easiest way to prevent her from getting this rubella infection is to take away the carrier, which is the child that would get infected with this rubella virus and shed and pass the virus around. So the whole aim is this. You protect the children, you indirectly have protected the mother from getting rubella. So that's where the whole discussion on herd immunity comes into play. Just like we do with measles, the more you protect children against measles infection, the lesser the chances of you having outbreaks of measles in the States. The lesser the chances of you seeing children with complications related with measles. It's the same thing with polio. Once you can create the herd immunity, the resultant effect is that you stop seeing people limping in the community due to polio.
Okay, just a quick one. How serious are this measles and rubella issue in Nigeria? And you just told us about the risks of not vaccinating the children. Are there stats you can share with us of outbreaks that show urgency?
As of 2024 in Nigeria, we've had quite a number of measles infection, and we're looking at as much as over 100,000, and we're talking of confirmed cases. In fact, around the world, globally, it used to be around 8 million, give or take, and this was about 2020, 2021. But of course, we could see the ripple effect of the pandemic, where we had disruption in access to routine health care like vaccinations and things. And there was a global surge in these measles cases. But you see, the beauty of it is this. In Lagos, 2025, we've not had one single outbreak of measles. And this is as a result of the measles mass campaign that was done in October 2024. So what we're saying is there's an essence why you do vaccination, why you give vaccines, is to ensure that there's a general coverage, there's this widespread protection, and which is where mass campaigns come into. But we also should not forget there's also a place for routine immunization, where the children would go at varying ages to get these vaccines For measles, for instance, they will come in at 9 months to get the first shot. Then they come in at 15 months to get a booster dose. This is just to ensure that the vaccines that have been given, you've not just given a jab, but you've actually created an immunity process that protects a whole. But why we have campaigns is because the routine immunization process has still not gotten to that level where we can beat our chests and say we have herd immunity.
And when you say like that, the next thing that comes to my mind is vaccine resistance.
Yeah,
Dr. Father, how do we manage vaccine resistance?
Okay. When a child is vaccinated, it's like giving the child a small atom of the real measles, because the measles vaccine contains measles virus. Rubella vaccine contains rubella virus, but it is usually a small quantity to jumpstart reaction in the child. And so when a child is injected, the child had like a fever, some actually even have like a mild rash. And that means the child has developed some immunity against the virus, such that when he sees the virus again, he's able to say, oh, I've seen you before. You cannot conquer me now. That is actually what the virus vaccination is expected to do. But we all know that there are individual reactions. If I take it, the way I will react may be different from how another person will react.
I get that, madam, but the question is about when communities, when people are saying they're not going to take the they are resisting the vaccine.
Okay. Now, people resist the vaccine because they don't know the importance. If you know that it is important, you will not say, I will not take it. And I always tell people that over the years, we know that vaccine works and vaccines are safe. And that is why we are here, to let people know. Like I used to tell people, when we were growing up, we used to see people with hunchback. Are we seeing hunchback again? Is it that they disappear? It is as a result of immunization vaccination. BCG, hunchback, is tuberculosis. Many people don't know that hunchback is tuberculosis. But when we started the EPI, expanded program on immunization, and we're giving BCG at birth. So even when one visitor comes in with tuberculosis, the child does not have tuberculosis. And so hunchback over the years has fizzled out. The same thing with polio. By the time we were giving polio, people were, but now, how many people do you see now walks around with limps? Now, as he said, last year, because anytime we do vaccination, we track. Last year, there was no single measles outbreak, which shows that it works. So people that are resisting, they don't know or they don't believe. And that is why we are here, telling them that you don't know what you have. It's unfortunate. If it reverses, it will have been another story.
Yeah. Dr. Kimpelu, what are the arrangements that have been put in place to ensure that no child is left behind, especially in far-to-reach places?
One of the essence of planning for immunization is we look at every variable. So we look at the states as a whole. What is our target population? Where do we find these children? Then we start to map them. We know that we have a huge number of these children in the schools. Where are these schools? We map those schools. The schools that are on these riverine communities, the schools that are in these hard-to-reach communities, they are all mapped out. We also know that we still have children that are out of school. Where do we find them? Religious houses, in the markets, in their communities during the day. So what we do is we have teams, vaccination teams, that will go to schools. We have vaccination teams that will go to religious houses. We also have vaccination teams that have been earmarked to go to these difficult communities. But before they go, we have interactions with them to let them know that on these certain days, we would have teams coming to vaccinate your children. So we're not just jumping at them. The discussions have been ongoing. It's been ongoing for quite a number of months. Because one of the things we also need to get is the buy-in of the community. Public health is community-driven. So we don't do top to bottom. We discuss, we map, and we ensure that every logistic have been put in place to ensure these vaccines get to them.
Okay. So who exactly are being targeted for this vaccine in particular?
For the introductory phase of the Measles-Rubella vaccine, which is where we're doing the mass campaign from the 27th of January, and it's going to run for 10 days. We're looking at vaccinating every child, both male and female, between the ages of 9 months to 14 years. And this is to kickstart this herd immunity process that we want to create. Post-introduction, when it now goes into the routine phase, where these vaccines become available within the healthcare system, the private hospitals, the public health facilities offering routine immunization, it goes back to the routine ages where we give at 9 months and the second booster dose at 15 months for both boys and girls as a routine process of immunization.
Right, and so you talked about the booster dose, 9 and 15 months?
9 months for
9
the
months
first
for the
dose,
first dose.
15 months for the second dose.
So where does the up to 14 years, where does that come in?
Okay. So when we do mass campaigns, right, like I said, it's this need to create herd immunity. Remember that rubella has not been part of our routine immunization schedule. And one of the things we're looking at, the federal government had looked at is how do we ensure that we give as many persons that can still benefit from this vaccine the opportunity to get at least one dose of the rubella vaccine so that they too can kickstart their own level of protection, which is why looking at the ages where vaccines tend to be most effective in terms of conversion into immunity, it's between the ages of 9 months and 14 years for this rubella vaccine. So this is giving a wide window of opportunity to capture as many persons to this opportunity.
Right. So, Dr. Fadari, you spoke about, different reactions to the vaccinations a while ago. How do you begin to convince, parents and guardians that their children in wards will not have an adverse reaction to the vaccinations, especially we know of measles, but rubella, that's it hasn't been so consistent. How do you convince them that it's safe and that maybe the reaction that the children will have won't be as bad as all that for them to be able to agree to it?
Thank you. We ensure we institute what we call surveillance for adverse events following immunization. And in fact, this has been introduced into every of our primary healthcare activity. So it is not only going to be during this campaign. Every time anybody takes any drug, you will always say, if you notice any untold effects, discontinue and report back. So the same thing we tell all our mothers. When you take this vaccination, to some we tell them, you may see mild fever, you may see this, but if you are not comfortable, feel free to come back. And we have tracked this over the years, and I want to tell you, the vaccine we are giving is safe.
Talking about safety, my apologies, we are running out of time. Sometimes parents want to take their kids for immunization. Next thing, they are giving them paracetamol or any other painkiller, just in lieu
Of the pain.
of the pain.
We don't encourage caregiver to give paracetamol because, as I told you, whatever we are giving is expected to institute a reaction. By the time you give the paracetamol, you are not allowing yourself or even the caregiver to know that there is a problem. So there may be very serious problem that you have masked because you have given the paracetamol.
Right. Okay.
So we say, please don't give paracetamol. If there is high fever, come back. But I want to tell you, over the years, 2024, we had a mass campaign and we gave measles vaccine. And we tracked adverse event following immunization for 6 weeks post the campaign. I want to tell you, most of the events we recorded are non-serious. Swelling at the site, mild fever, and all that. We never recorded any untoward events.
Right.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time this morning. Our time is up, unfortunately. Dr. Adetola Akipelu, Immunization Program Coordinator, Lagos State. Thank you for joining us. And Dr. Folashade Fadari, Member Association of Public Health Physicians of Nigeria, Lagos State Chapter. Thank you, Madam, for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much.
We just spoke about parents. We'll talk about them more when we return.
Stay with us.
Thank you very much.